you become the better version of yourself. They become the better version of themselves because like the energy exchange between you two it has shifted. It's not the I am right, you are wrong for doing this. It's, I love you when you're in your personal power. And I love, you know, I love that you're not like a leaf wavering in the wind. Like I can see your power. I can see, how you light up. And this is like so attractive to me. And I want you to be you more because you in this energy is magnetism. Welcome to I Think I Can podcast. My name is Luella Young. I am a woman who believes that we, like wine, get better with age. Age brings us wisdom, intuition, and a level of sophistication that is beyond the reach of youth. I am here to tell you that living a luxuriously rich and fulfilling life is in your reach. I Think I Can podcast will teach you to think differently in order to get different results. Allow me to show you how to do life effortlessly. This podcast is for the woman who is tired of playing by the rules of society, community, religion, parents, and partners. I Think I Can is all about becoming brave, authentic, purposeful, and strong. Listen weekly and you will find yourself living a life you could have only once dreamed of. Thoughts drive our physiology, so channel your thoughts with me into a life truly worth living. Enjoy the show. Hello, welcome back to I Think I Can podcast. And this episode is being published or released on Valentine's Day. So I must talk about love, right? Love is in the air. And we need to talk about what is love exactly. And my perspective on what makes a relationship stronger through love. And I think for those of you who've listened to me before, worked with me before, you know that it's all about loving yourself first and honoring your own gifts and seeing yourself as whole and complete in who you are right now, the version that you are. So let's start this conversation a little bit about that, the whole self-love, self-worthiness piece. And I know, it's displayed everywhere. The whole, body image love and things like that. Like, I don't think there's a lack of information about self-love out there. Even like if you think about it, compared to when maybe our parents grew up, I mean, that wasn't even discussed, right? Like, I mean, not that it wasn't even discussed. It's sort of like they didn't even have access to that. I think the only way, like when I think about it, like, okay, so right now, let's say you're a university student, you're walking through campus and you realize, oh, like I doubt myself so much. I don't, you might be thinking, I want to ask this girl out or I want to ask this guy out, but all these things about me, right? I mean, why would they? let's just start right there. Um, I mean, we all have those doubts. We all have that fear. But if I think about, the young adults that come to me looking to find the love of their life, and they're wondering how to even begin that, it's all, if they're anxious about it, if they're worried about it, it's all because of self-doubt, self-honoring, self-love. Why would they want me? Instead of like, why wouldn't they want me? I'm amazing. So it so if they're, let's say, emotionally intelligent enough to realize that they have a whole lot of self-doubt going on, and that's where they need to begin, then they come see a coach, then they come see a therapist. Okay, perfect. Or maybe they go to their university school counselor, or maybe they have a conversation with their doctor in the office. Like, who knows? But my point about, like, it's sort of like, it's almost cliche now because we hear it everywhere. It's because it is everywhere. It's on billboards. It's in your clinic. It's in pamphlets. It's like you Google. Like, I mean, it's everywhere. Like, it's at your fingertips in terms of the information. You can download it from anywhere. And I think for the most part it's all really good stuff. But let's rewind the tape to a time where our parents grew up, and that was not available. Like, I don't know what might have been in an encyclopedia at that time. Like, okay, so I'm turning, oh, I'm just realizing here, I turned 55 yesterday. I'm pre-recording this, right? So my birthday's on February 13th. And so I'm going to be 55 when I record this. And age is just a number. I feel like I'm 25. So anyway, but if I rewind the tape to when I was, 8 or 9, and I think, how did I find out information? I remember there being like, how many volumes of the Britannica Encyclopedia was there at that time? I have no idea, but that's where I went. I took down, I don't know, when I studied elephants, I knew that I had to pull down the E book, but there was nothing that, like, I wasn't pulling down the A book under anxiety because I didn't even know what that word meant. Like, what is anxiety? Um, and sometimes, I correct my own children, and because they're like, oh, I'm so anxious. Um, like, my daughter's writing or studying for, a big exam right now, and um anxious. Like, is it anxiety, or are you just nervous because you got a lot of built up adrenaline, and you're excited about what's going to happen? So I think we get a little carried away in the different, in defining and in our discernment in terms of what's actually anxiety and what's excitement and what's normal in terms of what is being nervous or worried, which is a human experience, and what's actually anxiety. Now, I'm not going to go deep into this right now, but my point is that back in the day, you know, you don't know what you don't know. So in some ways, I think it was a much more peaceful time for many people because they weren't wondering, you know, like, why why am I not as happy as this other person? Or why, it's sort of like everybody was sort of on their own to figure it out. And in some ways, yes, I'm sure there was a lot of terrible things about that. Like, I mean, even in terms of the gifts that you had, like even if we did it in a positive way. I was just speaking to my mom last night about someone who's, probably passed away now, but like, I mean, some people have amazing psychic gifts, who are mediums and mentors. And, but back in the day, can you imagine how scary that was? Now it's very, normal. Or like even even the practice of Reiki. Um, you had these gifts, but no one was talking about it. And you don't even, so if no one's talking about it, I mean, you're a weirdo, so no one's going to talk about it. Like, I mean, you're not going to say, hey, by the way, you know, I saw my grandma this morning, like that passed away years ago. I mean, you just, it's just, you're a weirdo. So what I'm getting at here is trust yourself. Trust these codes, downloads, ideas, thoughts, that you might be having right now about this is who I am, and challenge it. Like, is that okay? Like, I'm this kind of person right now. I have these gifts, thoughts, abilities, talents, magics, you know, about me. And I'm just going to accept that, and not make it binary and say, this is a good thing or it's a bad thing, and start comparing yourself to other people. It is, it is just what it is. It might not be the same as your brother or sister. It might not be the same as your girlfriend, the neighbor down the road, but there's something mystical, magical, amazing about who you are that no one else has. The problem is people start comparing themselves, not only comparing themselves to their friends or peers or neighbors, but comparing comparing themselves to some sort of timeline. That's the other thing. Do I have this that I see my other, like my friends seem to have? And if I don't have it, why don't I have it yet? Like, the whole timeline thing is another huge weight that people put on themselves. Or, yeah, like, so going back in the day, and how life seems so much simpler. We have that choice of making life so much simpler. And like, because of the lack of information that they had at their fingertips then, what did they do when you think of it? They didn't have the internet. They had books. Okay. They could have spent a lot of time studying or reading, um, or talking. But chances are they spent a lot more time with their own thoughts. And I don't mean anxious thoughts, um, scary thoughts. I mean much more contemplative thoughts. And maybe that's your version of something, prayer, or discussions with God, discussions with the universe, meditation, right? Like, but it's just time in your head where you're not nervous. You're just like, you're just present. You're just present. And maybe it's journaling for you. Maybe people wrote some, I mean, I think there's all different ways of being in this sort of contemplative thought, like, who am I? What's my journey in life? Where do I see myself in 10 years? And, you know, I need to get there like right now, or do I just trust? You're going to hear trust come up a lot in this conversation. Trust, trust, trust in the universe, trust in God, trust that you are amazing just the way you are, and that you have so much to give to a relationship, to the world, and centering and grounding yourself in this self trust. You don't need it to happen by a certain time. You know, if you don't have that relationship of your dreams right now, trust that it will come. Whether it's a current relationship, and like that's the other thing, people tend to exit a relationship when they feel incredibly disempowered and confused, and you know but the answer is at your fingertips. It's I need to understand myself more. Once I understand myself more, once I love myself more, once I um develop this, intuitive wisdom, this love for myself, this calmness about myself, then I'm able to possibly exit this relationship feeling like very clear about it, and secure about it, peaceful about it. But the thing is that, often that doesn't happen. People, they could be in a very terrible relationship, and they're so much in pain, they just feel like exiting it without um looking inward is the way to do it. And like, I just need to leave this, and then I'm going to have peace and joy in my life, because he or she is not part of it anymore. Well, do you love yourself though? Because in the end, you're going to be by yourself, so you better make sure you actually love yourself. But that tends to, when one person leaves and exits a relationship and bounces into another one, chances are they didn't even give themselves that time to look inward. Even without this other person who apparently was making their life miserable, um, they still don't take that time to look inward and go on their own self journey. So, another thing I feel about the simplicity of, 50 years ago or something like that is a lot more people did, you know, there was more of a community, and um and that when they weren't in that community, and I mean either visiting or like, tribal communities, then when they weren't in there, then they were alone. It was, in other words, like nowadays, like, you can go onto your phone like so quickly and distract yourself, but I don't know, you either, to me back then, it was either you felt held within your community or you were more in contemplative thought. And both those situations are much more conducive to loving yourself and not being distracted by your thoughts. Because, in a community, you're engaging, you're feeling held. Um, Not to say that people weren't very, incredibly lonely then. I'm sure they were, but they weren't comparing themselves to other people by opening up their phone and finding out, oh, my friend is posting about this wonderful lunch they're having right now, and why am I not there? That's where I feel like I'm not going to even say social media. It's just sort of like just having a phone, having all this information at our fingertips all the time, all day long, and then getting the dopamine hits of messages and emails coming in and likes and all that. I mean, people have just relied way too much on, I'm only loved as much as the number of likes I get, or they're just so caught up in the validation rather than just in the all knowing that they're beautiful souls just as they are. And back to the community part about years ago, I think, let's face it, many more people, had the religion as their, core belief system that there was a God, that, we do practice prayer, that we are a, divinity within us. They had many more conversations with source, again, whether it's God, universe, nature. um they had those conversations, and I think it allowed them to trust themselves a lot more, reminding themselves that they are held, and you are a child of God, and there's nothing, you're loved no matter what. I think those conversations probably did ground people a lot more. But nowadays, I mean, it's just we're pulled in so many directions that we forget to have those quiet conversations, um, whatever your source is. So the trust, the faith, and grounding in that belief that you don't need to be anything before showing up for who you are. You're perfect right now the way you are. You're 100% perfect, just as you were as a baby, as you are now. You don't need to do anything. And I'm not saying this comes easy. Like after this podcast, you're just going to be a new person, and life is going to be wonderful. It's not that at all. It's realizing that this is something I need to practice. This is a daily practice. Just like learning a language, you're not going to improve in this area unless you do it daily. This is not something that you just run to, a therapist or a coach once a week and think that it's all going to be okay if you don't do the work in between. It's just an all knowing. It's just deciding one day that I'm going to believe in myself. And I'm perfect right now, and there's things about me that are, that are so special that no one else knows about, because I haven't provided this to anybody. I've been hiding. And I'm going to give others the grace and compassion, to show their true selves as much as I'm going to do for myself. I'm going to forgive others the way that I would want that forgiveness for me, for the wrongs that I have done. I realize that I've made mistakes and I've had to learn the lessons. And knowing that, I'm going to give that other person that same sort of grace, that they've made mistakes. And I'm going to let go of all those past resentments of others. Because again, what does that do for me? What is that? What does that do for me? And I think once you release all that judgment of others, you're going to be able to release the judgment of yourself, all the mistakes that you made. And I'm not saying even mistakes or acts, behaviors that you've done to others, words that you've expressed to others, or shutting your love from others. We all wish we would have done life better, whatever stage of life you're at right now. But just knowing that today is a new day and that I'm going to do life differently. And when you feel anger and frustration about the way your life is right now, realize that you're not in alignment in terms of your greater self. And your inner self, um your self worth, your self esteem, the better self theme of who you are is, I express myself through love. I lead myself through love. That love is an energy, coming from my heart that just expands from me. Just think of yourself having this aura of incredible love, the love that you would have for an animal in pain, the love, that you have for your own pet at home, that unconditional love of, a mother to a child. Like it's the same sort of love that you need to give to yourself. And you have it within you. You do. You do. It might not be there the same every day. It's not like I'm saying, you wake up with this, or one day, you might feel that energy about you. Like it's just sort of like, it's like a surrendering to, I am actually like just perfect the way I am right now. Like I I can sort of this energy of I can do anything. I can do anything if I follow my purpose in life, if I lead through love. I mean, it's not only I can do anything, but I don't need anything at the same time too. It's sort of like my life could end today and I feel complete. Um, and I think that that's the only way you're going to be able to do that, first of all, is to forgive others, right? If you've put a lot of blame on your parents, for example, for, why you're so messed up at this stage in your life, or why you're so behind at this stage of your life. I mean, you got to let that go and start owning it. I mean, sure, they were there to guide you up to a certain point in life, but there's another part of you that you're an adult now and you get to make your own choices. And it might be a little bit more rocky at first. Maybe you feel like things are a little bit more rocky with you compared to this other person that, on the outside looked like had the greatest, upbringing ever. My view on that is I think we all have our own crosses to bear in life. And you might be perceiving that, you know, this person's life seems just so perfect. But I feel like there's going to be, I don't even know how to say it, but because I don't want somebody to think like, oh my gosh, my life seems so perfect. Are you saying, Luella, like something's going to happen to me that, it's hasn't happened yet or something like that? But that's not what I mean. I don't mean that. I mean that you might have some struggles in your life, some moments in your life that you really struggled, that no one else really knows about. So you are doing your own suffering. Um, you just don't make people very aware of it. Like um, it's like because what do people look at? People look at material things, the house they're living in, the area that they're living in, the country that they're living in. But what if, these people that live in these other areas or houses or families have an incredible gift of, finding the gratitude in every single day. And with that gratitude, they have tremendous peace in their life. So you just can't judge a book by its cover. You don't know what's underneath the hood in anybody's life. So let go of the woe is me type of mentality and my life sucks, because you are having a human experience just like every other human on this earth is having experiences. And we don't know what their life is going to throw at them. But I'm telling you, you can become incredibly resilient in that, by practicing the self-love right now, that no matter what happens to me in life right now, like I feel complete. I just feel good. And the only way that's going to happen is that you develop this pure belief about you are loved. You are loved and you are perfect right now today. That you are just complete divinity, and you have incredible gifts to give to other people that you've possibly been hiding in fear of, I don't know, in fear of rejection, in fear of, why would they want to be around me? Um, you don't like, it's, you've been closed for so long, like your vulnerability is just not there. You feel that if you speak your truth about the fears that you're having, or the doubts that you're having, or I don't know, the the mistakes that you made in life, that these people are going to look at you differently, rather than them looking at you going, I get it. I've been there too. And this is what's helped me. I mean, it's so hard to have these conversations with the people that we love the most, because with the people that we love the most, if they reject us, then that's everything, right? That's everything. But we can't think of it like that, because there's going to be part of you that's feels so much lighter, that the energy is going to be so much lighter in you by just focusing on, how pure and lovable you are right now. Like, and that you are loved. You're always loved. You're always loved. You're always accepted. And that, you know, again, grant yourself that same sort of forgiveness that you would do unto others. Because everyone has made these mistakes. I'm telling you, everybody has the same doubts, the same fears. You might think, your fear, your weirdness, your awkwardness, that you do this, like, oh my God, others do this. And, because we're like, we're always shooting ourselves. Like, oh, I did that. Like, I shouldn't have done that. Like, I mean, why, or how should I do that? Asking yourself the how all the time, and second guessing yourself all the time. It's like, well, I want to do this, but I don't know how. Rather than, I want to do this, and I'm just going to start being this. And I'm just going to check into, my, like, how do I feel about this? How does this feel in my body to go forth and do this? And if it's a, let's go, let's do it, and if it turns out it wasn't really correct, oh my gosh, well, then I've learned that lesson. That's great. I know we all hear this, but none of us, very, very, very few people practice it. And you know why? Because they don't trust it. They don't trust that intuitive hit. They don't trust that deep knowing that this is the way I want to be, because they think it's sort of more of like there's a how piece, and if we bring this back to relationships, it's so simple to be completely vulnerable. I mean, it's at everyone's fingertips. I feel about whatever it is that's going on, and this is my positive need. And I don't really have to explain to you why this is my need. This is just who I am, who I am. And they might go, but I'm not like that. So why are you like that? I don't know why you're not like that, but this is who I am. And I'm the best version of myself when I am this person. Like, do you see how I light up when I do these things? Like, do you see how my energy shifts when I feel like you support me in these ways? Do you feel how we are different as a couple when I can actually be me in front of you and not worry about your judgment? This is incredible. And then you become the better version of yourself. They become the better version of themselves, because like the energy exchange between you two are is it has shifted. It's not the I am right, you are wrong for doing this. It's, I love you when you're in your personal power, and I love, you know, I love that you're not like a leaf wavering in the wind. Like I can see your power. I can see, how you light up. And this is like so attractive to me. And I want you to be you more, because you in this energy is magnetism. Like, I want to give you permission to be you, because when I see like how you hold yourself in your personal power, how you trust yourself, how you honor yourself, that's crazy attractive. It's just sort of like, wow. And, you might see, oh, but that's ego. It's not ego. It's not ego. Ego is, ego is not the energy that's happening within that person. Ego is it's sort of like, no, ego is the person that says, I should be doing this. I should be, because of whatever, you know, fear that they have. I should be, I should be, making this sort of money, like, rather than that person sort of like, no, I'm going to be wealthy because I just have this belief in myself that I get to be wealthy. Do you see the difference? It's not I need to compare myself to like Joe Smith down the street. I need to have money because money is there's not enough money in the world, and I need this and I need that and I need this. No, the other person who just simply sits in their own belief and love of themselves is that I get to have this because there's no lack in my life. Money is abundant. Wealth is abundant. Wealth in my relationships, like there's no lack of love. If I can love all of my children the same, it's not like if I love this child more, um, one day I have less child for the other. No, no, it's just like it's ever flowing. It's ever, it's ever flowing from your heart. And this belief is more from your sacral. It's sort of like mm-hmm. It's this all knowing. It's tapping into your wisdom. I get it. Like I get to have this. And there's no method to this either. I just it just is. So in other words, when you're open, when you're honest with yourself, when you're completely honest with your feelings, you get to have it all. But where people go so wrong in relationship, it's just sort of like, well, I'm this way and you're this way, and therefore it can't work. Well, no. I mean, I have a certain way of thinking. But I also have some limitations in myself. Like I can see that as well. Like it's not like all of a sudden like I'm not a human being anymore. Obviously I make mistakes, but you're giving me the forgiveness when I make those mistakes. That's different. And I see how you also make mistakes, but you make different mistakes. But I'm not focusing on those mistakes. I'm focusing on all your power. Like you have this amazing qualities, values that I struggle with sometimes, but I see that in you. I see your power and I love it and I'm attracted to it. I wish I had more of that. See, and that's how two people become complete. It's because like you don't have everything, but you have certain things that another person doesn't have. And they have certain things that you don't have. And together you become a complete in your relationship. And I think that's what's really attractive because, despite like sometimes, there's parts of us that, how do I say it? There's parts of us that, I mean, we do struggle with. I mean, like I have a hard time giving of my time. And so for me, I feel like there is a lack of abundance in time. And that's something I need to work on. I do. I really feel like I need to work on that. Um, so I know my own limitations. And so if my partner doesn't feel that way, that he doesn't have that same lack in time, like I see the way he goes about his day and I admire that. And um it's the balancing. He needs to like balance me a little bit with that. And so I admire that he has that skill that my skill there is not as sharp. So he has certain sharp tools in his toolbox and I have certain sharp tools in my toolbox, and together we're able to build this relationship house, by building these foundations. So I I hope this sort of gives you a bit of a foundation in terms of self-love, but you're going to know it's going you're going to see yourself shifting if you practice this like any other skill that you want to build. And I know you hear that often as well, whether it's you give the analogy of a muscle being built, or piano, like an art, um, your creative arts. How how could this not be anything different? We're pulled so far away from self-love ever since, we were that baby. When the first, occurrences of you doing certain things were there, all you received is self-love. I mean, all you received is love. Whether it was that first word, that first step, um, graduating from kindergarten. I mean, oh my God, like, um, there were so many firsts in your life, and you were applauded. You were given the acclamations, the validations. You were conditioned for the affirmations. You were conditioned for all those validations. But then life gets busy, with our parents and with our friends, and then we have to rely on our own. And this is where people need to come back to. It's it happens very innocently. Um that like no one teaches us this, you know, and sometimes I think maybe if a parent is trying to teach their child this, the child is sort of like, what do you mean? Like, I mean, I have to love and honor myself. Like, you've always given that to me. Um, can't you celebrate with me? Of course, of course, of course. But it's the celebration is not validation. The celebration is that you, just for you. It's not because you got the 98. Uh, that's not that's not what we're celebrating for. The celebration is because you just put your heart and soul into this test or whatever it is. And, I love you no matter what. So parents can practice that way for sure. But, there's this rite of passage that happens between, adolescence to adulthood that can be really, really hard, um, in terms of, you know, I've always depended on your validation. And now all of a sudden I have to do it on my own. And this is really tough. And people, as soon as you realize that, you don't have to be 80 and still struggling. You can start it right now, whatever age you're at. Is I'm going to practice this all knowing that I have something about me that's like so attractive, and I have so much that I can do in this lifetime with all of me, that I'm excited about showing that to other people. You know, I had these amazing abilities out there that no one else has, because there's no one else like me out there. And you should get excited about that. That you are the chosen one. You are all of it. And it's about time that you start showing other people that all your beauty, all your wisdom, all your talents, all the quirkiness about you. Start telling people how you feel. Start telling people what you need in a positive way. And you're going to be amazed by the number of people that support you and love you even more for doing that. Trust, faith, and belief. So I'll leave you with that. And I hope you have the most amazing Valentine's Day. And remember, you don't need to depend on your partner's love for the love from within. You've got that all right now. So give yourself that love today. If you want to buy yourself flowers, buy yourself flowers. If you want to, I don't know what guys do for self love. If you want to go for a beer or whatever with one of your best buddies, whatever that is, like do something for yourself today in honor of Valentine's Day, in honor of yourself. So with that, I'll let you go and I'll see you here next week. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks once again for joining me on another great episode of I Think I Can podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe below so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And until next week, treat each day like it was your last, because each new day is a privilege that we shan't take for granted. Cheers and have a great week. Bye-bye.